Hello everyone!
5 years have passed since the mortal races banded together and ventured into the realm of death. Though the Shadowlands was saved, the tenuous pact between Blizzard and its player base was all but evaporated.
The Dragon Isles await.
The drums of hype thunder once again.
As the Dragon Isles have awakened, all across Azeroth and beyond, the dragons can feel the call to come home. The Dragfear, units created by Neltharion before his fall from grace, they've also opened their eyes, finding themselves in a world they do not recognize. Joining either the Alliance or the Hordes, they've already stood in the defense of the world as the elements rose up. It's to my knowledge still to be explained exactly why or how the elements have become such a problem again. Is this a side effect of Azeroth healing? Does this have something to do with draining our life force? Is some other outside force messing around? The exact reason, to my knowledge, is still to be revealed. All the same, the effects are clear to see. Primalist, infused with elemental might. They've already released Razageth the Storm Eater. She and the other primal incarnates, they fought a war with the aspects over 20,000 years ago. She devoutly believes that dragonkind was meant to be as wild and free as the storm itself, not this unnatural, titanic, orderly way of life. That got her and the other incarnates locked away, but now she's been released, wanting to liberate her fellow incarnates from their ancient prisons and topple the aspects to scour the world clean of every trace of the Titan's influence. Debates on who's wrong and who's right here, they'll have to wait for another day. Mommy Alexstraza has need of us. Last time that they fought against Razageth and crew, they barely won, and that was when they were at full power. Now they're down 2 aspects. They're depowered across the board after sacrificing it all to defeat Deathwing. If we want any chance of success, then we'll have to find some way to restore the aspect's powers. Across the Dragon Isles, there are the so-called oathstones, stones connected to the different Dragonflights. Their promise and charge to the Keepers, to the Titans and the worlds. Our queen believes that if we could restore these somehow, bring order and purpose back to the flights, then perhaps we could restore their powers as well.
It's time to set sail for the Dragon Isles!
Onwards we go. Alliance and Horde working together on this one. No faction war that's going to be brought over to a previously hidden land. Instead, we have the Explorers League, led by Toddy Whiskers, working together with the Reliquary, led by Nalaida Rivergleam. This is going to be an expedition, not a military maneuver. On their boats, on their zeppelins, by sea and sky, they travel to the Dragon Isles. At least, if their captain doesn't forget where it is, and all of a sudden they find themselves teleported back home. Setting foot on the waking shores, where Wrathion was supposed to meet us, but he's not here yet. Now, considering that the Isles have been hidden away for quite a few millennia, the place is not exactly ready to receive mortals as it did in the past. No worries, we've been through worse. The Dragon Isles are quite beautiful in contrast, and what's cool to see is that the designs of the zones, they reflect the dragonflies that they're connected to. So here in the Waking Shores, we deal with 2 of them. We have the Black Dragonflight, so there's a lot of rough and dark and metallic land that's covered in hot molten magma. And then there's the Red Dragonflight, beautiful pieces of nature that invite life and wonder.
I am honored to make your acquaintance, Syndrax.
Well met!
Since Wrathion's not here, we're greeted by Sendrex, a Draconid of the Red Flight. These Draconids, they were once upon a time a primordial reptilian race known as the Terrasec that thrived across the lands. These highly adaptive creatures soon rose as peerless hunters, once able to channel the elemental energies abundant throughout their home. Similarly to how the proto-dragons were empowered by the Keepers to become dragons, these Terrasec were transformed by the aspects into the Draconids. Guided by the will of the aspects, Draconid artisans crafted every piece of architecture throughout the Dragon Isles, and their temples, terraces and training grounds, they bear the influence of their titanic patrons. Basically, they're creatures empowered to help the aspects, and after waiting a while, helping out with setting up the embassy, quell the local proto-dragon's threat. Our patience is running a little bit thin, so we convince Sendrex to light up the emergency signal flare to let them know we've arrived.
There! Major Domo Silistra will arrive soon!
Does the Major Domo personally respond to every call for help?
Oh, yes! In times of trouble, there is no one Queen Alexstraza trusts more.
Here they come!
Incredible.
look who we have here.
We saw the flare and assumed the worst. What is wrong, Cadet Sendrax?
Major Domo, the new arrivals were wondering where you were, and I thought...
I see. There was a reason for our absence. An ancient rival, the Jarradin, have stirred to violence once again. Dragonheart Outpost has already fallen.
The elements themselves are fighting against us, and the proto-dragons, their history, their origin, it comes from an evolution from the elements. Once upon a time, the elements roamed the world freely. Then they were enslaved by the old gods and the rise of the Black Empire. Then the Titans showed up, and they brought order to the planet. They defeated the enslaved elemental lords and created the so-called elemental planes. Each of them were locked away within their own domain, but little pieces of elements were left behind in the world. Those are the ones that evolved into proto-dragons. So too do we find the Jarradin having their origin with the elements. These gigantic beings, they're born of the fiery magma of the earth. They draw power directly from the molten heart of Azeroth, commanding flame to reshape the hardest of rock. These benders of flame are able to vent torrents of molten rock against the adversaries, whereas the martial-minded warlords, they take pride in wearing the trophies of their enemies. They use the lava pools to meditate, strengthen their connection to the Firelands, the elemental plane of fire. And when the waking shores were reshaped by the Black Dragonflight, many of the magma-filled caves, they were inhabited by an overwhelming number of these Jarradin. Taking great pleasure and pride in overcoming powerful adversaries, the dragons became their mightiest foe to hunt. All of their flights were their targets, yet they took particular delight in hunting down the Black Dragonflights, trying to claim the land as their own. And as the Dragon Isles awakened, so too did the Jarradin. Seeing how fond they are of the hunt and a good challenge in the fights, let's give them more than they bargained for, and then reunite with Sendrax at the Lifebinder Conservatory.
Was a success. The convoy yielded enough eggs to begin. Go now. Infuse them with the elements. Wash away the stain of order. Work quickly. Outsiders have come ashore. We cannot let them interfere.
Sendrax can't believe what's happening right now. Proto-dragons infused with elemental energies, they're monstrously powerful. Stories tell of entire draconic regiments being frozen in a single breath. If the Primalists are infusing Dragonflight eggs with these same powers, the results would be catastrophic. It pains us in our hearts, but we can't let the infused whelplings live. This entire conservatory must be purged, as there's only one single egg that remains. If we can get it to Alexstraza, she'll know what to do.
For the Lifebinder! Now! Grab the egg! Get it to Alexstraza! For the flight! For the future.
What has happened to this egg? The energies that surround it are... This is dire. If the egg can be saved, it will be here, within the sacred waters of the life pools. Once the young of dragonkind filled this vibrant place. And the ruby oathstone, the very symbol of our calling, cast its bright glow high into the air for all to see. Now it lies dormant, as do all the oathstones. I suspect they fell quiet when we relinquished our aspectral power. There are so many things we left behind. But now that we have come home, we can fulfill the callings of our flights and renew the 5 oathstones. And through their unity, our absent power shall be restored.
Sendrax made the ultimate sacrifice to save that one egg, to get it to the Queen and open her eyes to what is going on. We take a moment to learn the awesome new feature of dragon riding, a way to traverse in the skies, while also finding out what it means to be part of the Red Dragonflight, be part of the charge to take care of life and the lands around us. The Reds have a deep love for all life, but once, in one of the darkest chapters of their history, they were forced to become agents of death. Their queen had been enslaved by the orcs, the Dragonmaw orcs to be precise, and they had no other choice but to carry the horde upon their backs through their war against the Alliance. Well, their queen would be rescued, and the heart of the aspect would forgive those responsible, even work together with the orc thrall to save the world. Some have a harder time to forgive themselves. We find the old orc, Dura Skilltaker, former Dragonmaw, that has made the long journey to the Isles with Kolgar Flameguard at his side. He needed to see it with his own eyes. He needed to see that they hadn't destroyed everything. While it's been many years since he was part of the Dragonmaw, and old age is finally catching up with him, the guild has not left him, even for a day. Despite living within the internment camps, despite standing up against Garrosh, Zela, and Sylvanas, there's nothing that he could do to regain his honor. Have you ever stood knee-deep in dragon blood? He has, while breaking whelplings younger than the one that curls up and begins to sleep near his leg. When Alexstraza refused to obey their commands, they smashed her axe in front of her, smeared the yoke of her unborn children upon her face. There's no price high enough that he could pay. Not even execution. Guild is a long, empty road, and he will drag himself along it, hands and knees, until he grinds himself into the gravel. Execution would have been a mercy. Save mercy for the ones who've earned it, he says. Despite his history, though, the Red Dragonflight values all life, even when it wanes. They make a potion for him to help with the pain, free of charge, as his old eyes gaze upon the ruby life pools. This is how it should have been. How all of them should have lived, free, unshackled, and untainted. The old orc's time is running out, and the last few days he spends right here at the pools, Ruby whelpling at his side. The next time we come across them, we see that time has finally claimed Duras in his sleep. The Ruby whelpling is still sleeping on his side. Kolgar doesn't know what to do now, but Beforus helps him keep a memento, a vessel filled with a portion of the power that infuses all living things. We borrow it for the time, and then it is no longer ours, yet it does remain. Duras would not have believed that he deserved this kindness from dragons, but one cannot deserve dignity. It is the right of all life. A sad tale right here, and not the only one to be found. Up above, there sits Veritistras, a red dragon that has given up all hope of ever returning home to the Broodlands. Perhaps you think them overly sentimental, he says. You try living 10,000 years, never being able to visit your home, finally visit it to only find it completely different, and then you come back to me. Some of the playable races, they can relate to what he's saying here, and he acknowledges them as well. Now, what I personally found most interesting is his view on the corruption of the Black Dragonflight. Their aspect Neltharion, he fell from grace, embraced the maddening whispers of the old gods, the power of the void, and not just him, but his entire flight started to listen to their voices. The tales we've heard about that, they were after the fact, and often very factual, as in, he betrayed us, he turned against us, and so it was a threat that had to be eradicated, and the entire flight was hunted to near extinction. But Veritistras adds nuance, adds to it what it was like to see those changes. You only know Neltharion as Deathwing, and his brood as mad evil beings. We knew them before they fell. This wasn't some unknown menace. This wasn't some great evil looming like the Legion was. These were our friends, our loved ones. It was awful, not knowing what's going on, thinking there was something you could do to snap them out of it. They were my friends, and they were killing my brothers and sisters. I had many friends in the Black Dragonflight, some as close as clutchmates. Growing up, we used to play pranks on the elders. I remember one time we coated Alexstraza's tail in honey while she slept, and... what does it matter? My best friend was of the Black Dragonflight. We intermingled a lot back in those days. Not like now, where most flights keep to themselves. Isn't it funny? I can't remember her name. I can't remember her face. I can remember how the light bounced off her beautiful scales, but I can't remember her name. I can remember the horror when I came home to find her standing over the bodies of my family, practically her family. I can remember the gut-wrenching despair as I plunged my claw into her throat, and I remember the hate in her eyes as the light went out in them. But I can't remember her name. I always wondered, if I had been a better friend, could I have prevented it? Did she not feel like she could come to me as she felt the corruption starting? Abyssian was cleansed. The black dragon that was cleansed by Haln with the hammer of Kaskarov. There must have been something I could have done. But she didn't come to me. Must have felt she couldn't talk to me about it. If I had been a better friend. If I had told her... Oh, Titans. If I had told her how I felt. Could it have gone differently? I loved her. And I can't remember her name. History books are cold and unable to convey what it was like to bear arms against your friends and loved ones, to see that corruption spread throughout the flights. Hopefully, times will change for the flights. That is, if we can buy them the time needed, for a storm approaches.
A storm. Domo, protect the eggs below while I distract Wrathion. She will not harm our young.
The Primalists want to eradicate the stain of the Titans, and in this case, they set their sights on the Ruby Life Pools. As the ancestral nesting grounds for the 5 flights, the Ruby Life Pools are a sacred place. The Red Dragonflight, whose charge it is to nurture all life, they protect these pools and the future of all dragonkind held within. Razagev and the Primalist, they've come to steal that future away, infuse their own power into the sacred pools. They must be stopped for dragonkind to thrive. And so, heroes venture in, take on Meladrusa Chillborn, Kokia Blazehoof, Kiraka, and Urquhart Stormvane. Now it's interesting to consider how the Primalists want to infuse these eggs with their elemental might, and we see this as something terrible, whereas the ancient text, they suggest that dragons, they're pushed in the direction of order to begin with, even when they're eggs. To the dragons, that's the life they've known, the path that they walk on. So we stand with the Queen in the defense of their precious eggs.
You will not harm the eggs. I protect the life pools.
Pathetic tool of the Titans. You are no true dragon. Do they know the truths you kept from them? How you locked us away, denied our existence?
It was the only path to peace. The war that divided dragonkind had to end. We were meant to be the guardians of Azeroth. The forces you seek to unleash will imperil us all.
False Queen. It is your blind allegiance to the Titans that threatens this world.
Razagev, enough! We need not fight another war. There is still time to see reason.
Time is precisely what you stole from me. Thousands of years, rotting in that prison.
I failed then to restore peace between us. Too many paid for that.
Spare me your sanctimony. You forced the Titans' edict upon us all. You betrayed the world that gave us life. And when we dared resist, you cast us out! Never again! Your false reign must end! You are bold, well played. But you are fighting on the wrong side. She never told you the suffering they inflicted upon us. The insult of being forgotten. I want her to watch helplessly as everything she built comes crumbling down. Only then will she meet a fitting end.
We saved eggs from the bronze, red, green and blue flights, but none for the black, as that flight has been hunted to near extinction. Our Wrathion, an uncorrupted black dragon, created with our aid during the Cataclysm. He feels a very heavy burden. This very young dragon was meant to be a proper Earth Warden, under the control of the red Dragonflight though, but he refused to follow their lead. Instead, he drew his own plans, eradicating the corruption within his flight, failing to prepare the world for the coming of the Legion, to then succeed at cleansing her from the old godness Zoth. Seeing how he refused to be controlled by the Reds, perhaps he could find some common grounds with Raszageth. But for a while now, our Wrathion, he's been looking for the Dragon Isles to secure his destiny and the future of his flights. How few of them there might be left.
Wrathion, you have my gratitude. Your aid was unexpected, but appreciated.
It was an honor to stand with you, my queen. I trust your flight will now assist us in claiming the Obsidian Citadel from the Jarradin.
Of course we will. After we see to the safety of the eggs.
Surely they are secure now that Raszageth has been driven away.
Oh, you do not know her as I do, young one. She is an unpredictable foe. For now, we must remain at the life pools and safeguard our future.
Our future? Or yours? The Obsidian Citadel was built to defend all of the Dragon Isles. You cannot abandon the legacy of my flight to the hands of our enemies.
I would have expected you to care more for the protection of helpless eggs, Wrathion.
Stay then. Tend to what matters most to your flight, and I will save what matters most to mine.
Despite focusing on the eggs, Alexstraza still asks of us to go out and help Wrathion, as the young prince is going to need all the help he can get. Jarradin have taken over the Obsidian Bulwark. He's worked very hard growing his Black Talon forces, but their numbers don't lie. Scale Commander Emberfall doesn't think that we stand a chance, but Wrathion assures us that with his incalculable, valuable aid, no threat is going to stop him from claiming his legacy.
Who are you?
Sabellian, heir of Neltharion. And you are?
Wrathion, heir of Neltharion, and I've never heard of you.
Likewise.
We'll discuss this later.
After years and years of being out of the story, Sabellian finally returns home from Outlands. He's been out of the story for so long now that quite a few of you wondered who this Black Dragon actually is. Now he's part of the original crew that partied with Deathwing. You might know Onyxia, you might know Nefarian, maybe even Sinfaria. Sabellian was part of that team as well. When the orcs invaded Azeroth for the second time, Deathwing saw it as an opportunity to take over another world, and so he approached the orcs with a deal. His flights, Sabellian included, they would help them collect powerful artifacts on Azeroth, which would allow them to open up gateways to different worlds. In exchange, the orcs would take them and some other eggs into Draenor, where the Mad Aspect got his hands on the Skull of Gul'dan, and then trek to the area that we call Blade Edge Mountains. This skull was what Khadgar was going to need to close the Dark Portal again, so the Alliance of Lordaeron allied with Gru and his children to take on Deathwing and his forces. They smashed some of their eggs, they did some massive damage to the Mad Aspect, so much so that it was forced to flee back home, but Sabellian stayed behind, bending Outland to his will, making friends with Rexxar, and recruiting heroes to help him slay Gru and his children during the Burning Crusade. Ever since then, he's been forgotten on Outlands, so you could say that Sabellian represents the old school way of the Black Dragonflight. It's unknown what happened to his corruption. Perhaps the defeated Nuzov, or being away from Azeroth for so long, it gave them the chance to shake off the connections to the past. Within Awakening Shores, we can actually see others that do that as well, stepping away from the old mindset of Neltharion, refusing to follow the infiltration of the Twilight Hammer clan. The world has changed quite a bit since the days that Deathwing led their flights. Wrathion has been created, nearly exterminated the entire flight. Abaddon has been revealed, nearly falling to the darkness of the Old Gods, but then saved by Wrathion. And now, with the Call of the Dragon Isles, Sabellian has come home to claim his legacy.
Sabellian? What is he doing?
Young Wrathion, I owe you my thanks. Your help was invaluable in securing my rightful place on the Obsidian throne.
Oh, I believe you're mistaken. This throne, this legacy, is my birthright.
No. The mistake is yours. I was anointed caretaker of this flight by Neltharion himself. So let me be clear. When all is said and done, I will be the aspect of the Black Dragonflight.
Is that so? May the worthiest dragon win.
Wherever those eggs go, I go. You will not return them to Alexstraza without me.
Stay close, champion. We cannot afford for anything to happen to the wagon or its contents.
Why are we taking this ridiculous contraption again? It's agonizingly slow.
Our enemies will be on the lookout for us, and we cannot risk an encounter while transporting the eggs. So we shall travel as mortals do to avoid their gaze. If saving the future of your kind bores you, you are free to leave. I would welcome the silence. Champion, to me!
Is this your idea of subtlety?
Quiet, whelp. I will risk no harm coming to the eggs.
I could assist our dear champion in defending the wagon, you know. There's no reason they have to do all the dirty work themselves.
And reveal ourselves to the enemy? Absolutely not. Stay in your seat. Champion, to me!
This is getting ridiculous! How many random encounters must we suffer before you realize your ruse has failed? Let us take wing and be done with it!
Oh, cease your fidgeting. If anything is putting us at risk of discovery, it is your childish impatience.
Finally. I was worried the eggs would hatch before reaching the life pools.
Titans, give me patience.
Your kind ends today, puppets!
Is this the leadership you offer our people? Perhaps the others will see reason now.
Whelps these days. Meet me at the life pools proper, champion. This is far from over.
What is the meaning of this, Sabellian? Where are the eggs?
Yes, why don't you explain how your ridiculous plan destroyed the future of an entire flight?
I apologize for any misunderstandings, Lifebinder, but any report of our extinction is premature. The eggs were never in danger. The cart and my presence were merely to draw the attention of our foes and allow my clutch to move unobserved. I have spent millennia rebuilding my flight. As Neltharion's heir, I pledge it and myself to you.
What are you...
These eggs are most welcome here, Sabellian. But your part in your father's twisted legacy has earned you no such privilege. I will ensure the eggs are cared for. But I will not be involved in your bickering. That is for the Black, not the Red, to decide.
Running to mommy did nothing to help Wrathion. He will have to earn his leadership spot all on his own. Very wise choice from our queen. And with the addition of the Black Dragons, the Flights are united and the Red's purpose has been restored.
At long last, our absent young are once more among us, so that they can be raised together with all the Flights. Though these life pools were once bereft of eggs, they now contain our future. Truly, the calling of my flight has been fulfilled.
I will see that these eggs are protected and loved, so that they may hatch into dragons, strong and wise.
Two oathstones down, 3 more to go. Onwards to the Onaran Plains, where we're gonna party with the Centaur and the Green Dragonflight. That will be for next time though. So for now, thank you very much for watching everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one. And until next time. See ya!